Yeah, I believe you can all see my screen. So this is me. My name is Beatrice Kinya. I'm an Android engineer at Kiosk Digital and an Android over at codeeco.com. Yeah, that is my Twitter and my LinkedIn. So let's talk modern Android development using MVI architecture. Sorry. So how it started. Yeah, that story when Android development was starting to handled by like server-side guys who are using Java for backend. So they were okay creating singleton classes and then using create once and use every. So they came with the same principles into Android development. So they just create a single activity for everything. Get your data from the database maybe or from a server somewhere and you know display it in an app. Well, these didn't go so well because we love performance issues. Like when working on the servers, they didn't have to worry about activity life cycles, but that's a problem in Android. Memory leaks, out of memory issues, among many others. And now to solve these issues, people started thinking around architecture. How can we write code in a manner that we don't have to deal with memory leaks every other time, such that our the activity life cycle is respected and then we have robust apps. So the first one is MVP. Okay, yeah. We had MVC, then came to MVP. Yeah, MVP is model view presenter. So this will be a diagram for it, but let's explain it. So an MVP model is just data. So we just a list of uses that is being fetched from the database or from an API, or let's use a movies app. The list of movies. So movie will be a model. If you're doing this in Kotlin, we create a data class for that. Then the presenter now. First, before the presenter, we have a view that would show the list of movies. Then the presenter now is responsible for fetching data from a model and managing the state for the view. So the presenter will receive actions coming from the user. Probably the user clicked a button to to make that request to fetch movies. Also, once the presenter receives the movies from now the model, it will call a method in the view to notify the view about the movies so that the view can show the movies. Yeah. Then now present for the presenter. Okay. MVP uses callbacks to the view when we have changes. And so it has to have a reference to the view. Most of the time, the view was an interface that will be implemented by an activity or a fragment. And this interface has to be injected in the presenter so that the presenter can update the view when the changes. So that would be okay when we're using XML or the view system because again we can return that view that will be injected in the presenter. But with Jetpack Compose, the new UI toolkit for Android, the composable functions are value, so we will not have a view to pass to the presenter. And so that makes MVP less ideal for Jetpack Compose projects. Then from MVP, we end MVVM model view the model. Yeah, which became popular when Google announced Android architecture components, that is the view model, like data, room, among others. So models still remains to be just the data, the list of movies which you're receiving from AI. Then the view it's just that activity or sorry or a fragment that we'll use to show the list of movies. But now the view model became the link between the view and the view model. The view, the view and the model. The view model will store and manage the UI written data in a life cycle conscious way. Our view model can survive configuration changes. So that in case, for instance, you rotate the screen, the data is not lost, it is restored. And also, the live data updates the views if you're using live data. Yeah, there, because live data is also lifecycle aware. It won't update the views that state. Then with MVVM is, well, this starts from RX Java. I think RX Java came before MVVM. We start using observable data types to update the views. So what will happen is a view will subscribe to an observable data type. I do not know what exactly RX in Java returns, but for instance, if we're using like data, when there changes and the view is in an active state, it is updated. So we do not have to use the callbacks to update the views because now the views can subscribe for them. Makes MVVM a unidirectional data type and ideal for Jetpack Compose. The only downside with MVVM is we'll have multiple objects for different UI states, something like this. So we have states like loading when the user clicks the button to fetch data from an API. The list of movies returned from an API if we have a successful request, and an error when the request to fetch the movies fails. We couldn't, yeah. So and this is the downside, and maintaining the three objects could be a bit tedious, yeah. And sometimes you could forget, and which may mean which will showing the wrong state in your view at any point. So then we have the MVI, the latest. Yeah, this is what we have, the latest in the MVI. MV byte. So it's model, view, and intent. It's mostly its principle is around state, managing state. Yeah, within the state, MVI treats user as a function. And yes, the output of one function is the input of the next function. So a user clicks a button to fetch movies from an API. That the output of that action becomes an input to the intent. So the intent is an action that is supposed to change the state. So the output of intent is the input to the model. Then the model, now we have the list of movies fetched from the API or an error. The output of that is what is fed into the view. Then the view is what the user sees on the app. So this is just what it is. Model is now becomes state. In MVVM, we were looking in MVVM, in MVP, we were looking at a model like as just data, just a list of movies or an error, separate data. But with MVI now the model becomes state. So the state will be either loading, we have success. So if it's success, we have data, or it is an error. So this state is what tells the view what to display. And when the state changes from, let's say, loading to data, the view gets notified. Remember, we're using observable data types, gets notified and recomposes itself. If you're using Jetpack Compose or using the view system, the view will get updated based on the new state. Yeah. So this is, you can use Kotlin sealed classes for this. So then we have an object loading. Then because we're returning data when there's success, we can use a data class. And even for the error, we can use a data class. Then the next thing is intent. We're saying intent is an action that changes states. The user fetching movies from an API. So I hope we're still together. I believe. Yeah. So like yeah, an intent is an action that changes state. In MVI uses the index style to create new state. We can look at MVI as MVVM plus index. It's the have a number of similarities. So in MVI, we'll have three components: a state order, that is a model, and action, that command to change state, and a reducer, a function that takes action now creates a new state. Yeah, we'll see that in a few. So uh, there are different ways you can implement this. Numerous ways to implement this. I don't think it's a right or a wrong. Yeah, you can use you can create a reduce function directly in the model, or separate reducer interface separate from the model, so that the reducer is now responsible for holding state or even processing state, taking those actions and creating the new state. And then the view model is responsible for the business logic and transforming the events from coming from the UI into iterates and then passing them to the end user. And because for the first part, you can the I have implemented in my yeah in my sample project, I implemented the reduce function in the view model. The good thing about MVI is you can implement it on top of other architectural patterns. So, and because we're implementing it on MVVM, I can have my reduce function in the view model. Then it will look something like this. So remember, you have the events. Yes. Again, you can create a sales class for them. And then for each, I think this is what I have before this. Yeah, you have events like this. And then in your view model, you can check which event, then map them to the right action that should change the state. Either get popular movies, get your favorite movies, or mark a movie as favorite. Yeah, then the view is to your UI. It could be an activity or a fragment or a composable function for composed projects. It listens and responds to state changes. Also, it publishes a stream of events as they happen to the view model. So we're having a stream of events using channels provided by Coffee Info. So when the user, let's say, clicks the button, you can it will the event is published so that they can be passed to your user function, and then you can generate the new state. Yes, and the cycle continues. Yeah. Then this will be again. We saying also the UI listens and responds to state changes. This will be an example. Yeah, actually did composable function, but you have something like this. So when the movie state is loading, you show the progress indicator. When you have the movies list, show the movies list screen, and when it's an error, show an error screen. Yeah, something like that, which makes state a bit fluent than when you have multiple states. So an optional feature is in MVI, you can have a time machine where you save all states during a session. This becomes handy when you're debugging the app. So if there's a crash, you can see the states that went to a crash or the unexpected behavior in your app. So you can log the states to crash critics, or you can display in a debug menu. One thing to note is consider not implementing a time machine by default, because definitely you'd have bulky too many logs. I just use it for the debugging purposes. Then an example code, yeah, of a time machine. So you can add state, you can select state at a given position, or you can get the list of all states that happened during a session, changing to maybe a crash. Yeah. Then we talk about handling configuration changes. Yes, when the user rotates the screen or you know, in a multi-window mode, that. So the UI will display the most recent state. So there isn't so much work required there. Then talk about single live events. So yeah, in a configuration change, since the app will use the latest state, it will display you the snack bar again, which is not very good. But there are several ways you can handle single live event. The events recommended by Google, or you can use Kotlin channels. I did okay. My preference is Kotlin channels because with channels you can just send events. These are events that will be consumed only once, just only once, and also these they won't be lost. Okay, first of all the events have to be consumed, but sometimes they can be lost, and there's a workaround for it. I have I've implemented all right here in these sample small project. You can check it out for the details. Yeah. Then start its navigation. So there are different ways of looking at navigation. You can consider making navigation part of state, but I don't like that because it's talking about state changes to old data. State the screen of what to display. Yeah, which data should display. So I don't think navigation should be part of that. Also, these you can undo navigation as a side effect. Uh, but again, side effects are mostly written with API calls, database access, or remote logging. So you may try, but okay, I still think I feel like it's not best way to undo it. Then you can also call navigation directly from the UI. I prefer that. Yeah, because navigation state. Yeah. So wrapping up, now with MVI we have improved state. Yeah, you have one object, and then the states you don't have multiple objects. So and it cannot be one or the other. You can hardly have two states at the same time. But in some cases, you may there depending on the requirements of your app, you may be required to have two states. But even then, it becomes a bit straightforward how you handle them. The planning effect, yeah. Think of when you're writing your app, you're thinking about intents and then leading to states. You can quickly think about what input is required. Yeah. You don't have to discover that way later and then after you started the implementation. Also, you get to handle states. Yeah, in MVVM, you can quickly decide not to you can decide to ignore the error state and just continue until it bites you and causes the app to crash or some unexpected behavior. And then we have a unidirectional or cyclic data flow as we saw in the this diagram here. Yeah. So the data flows in one direction and it's cyclic. You start from the user sends an intent, the output of the intent is sent to the model, then you have a new state, then you then back to the user and the cycle continues. Then we have yeah, the immutability. Our models are immutable. Yeah. So an intent is not update a model. The reduce function should create a new state based on the previous state and the action taken. So that makes our model a single source of truth. So which will make us have lesser wide related bugs and also debuggability. Debugging your hub becomes easier. You have a time machine, you can log the states and you can easily reproduce the states that lend to a particular issue, crash, unexpected behavior in your app. And testability, that is both for unit test and UI test, you have independent individual components which you can easily test. Yeah. So the only downside with MVI is you can easily get boilerplate code. Yeah. Because for each view you have at least a model, an intent, and a radius of function. For a small project, this may not be a problem, but for larger projects, as your project grows, this can become an issue. You cannot tell which class is what. Okay, you just have so many classes and so many events, and you're so likely to exceed the expectation for that. You can use Android Studio template support, or you can implement these interfaces of modularization. Now you can group, features, yeah, in one module, and probably they can also share this because if a feature is a feature or it's doing each a feature can have numerous screens just fetching data from an API. Yeah. So you're likely to have the same state. If you're doing research and error, you can use the same state classes. Yeah. And you'll be good. So I think that here you have resources, you have a sample project and vlog to learn more about the first one is the idea behind MVI. Yeah. And then the last one is about the advantages and disadvantages of MVI. So that brings it to an end. I'll take any questions.
So thank you, Trisha. We have some questions here. So if you have any questions, you can leave it in the QA section, and we will answer it now.
Okay.
So we have a bunch of questions. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see the QA. The first
Yeah.
question is what type of application is MVI ideal solution? Well, okay. What type of application? I think you can use MVI in depend. Okay, I'll answer that question this way. You can use MVI in any project. Yeah. But I prefer it for your complex projects or even your current project. If you're starting a new project, you could use MVI. But again, there's I cannot say there's just one set of applications that MVI won't be the best architecture. You couldn't work. Maybe it depends on your needs first. Yes, and basically your business needs going on. This building it in MVM. You're starting a new project such in MVI that is beneficial to for of using MVI. So it's all projects again. Actually, it is just ideal for one specific applications. I'm the little ones. I hope I've answered your question. Uh, next question
Okay.
is how do next question the question is how will you handle process that with MBI? Well, okay, but that is back to with that we expect to preserve state. Sorry, preserve state. So if you if you doing let's say MVM, just like MVM, you have a view model which preserves state for you. Again, also consider if you okay. This is where we talk about how state. Yes, saving state. So consider things like you can model or any other state signals that can, or there is also like remember savable to in your composables for long if you want to if you use the process to save your state and like MVI state still have your state when you have it itself. Yeah. That's how would you create capsule view model use model for state to survive process tab. How would you integrate state time capsule with view model saved harder to okay, I'll come back to that later. I'm not sure what the answer for that. I've been trying so much with saved state hard from the view model. So I have to experiment on that before I can. I'll try it. Then I can on Slack. Then MVI is an MVI built for the screen that has more than remote API data source. Yes, as more than. So I'm assuming this is where now you are querying the results from probably multiple endpoints. Yeah. So if you are if yeah, you're querying data from multiple endpoints. If you are using I think or RX, you can come from different sources. So and again, what if fields I don't a success one and an error, you can still have two states. You can still you can have two states at the same time with like in your such that model state you can use you will now use an data class to model those states. So you need something like as a boolean, then using that error, I think there's a string. So that's now when depending on the result of the combined data sources, yeah, you can update your state and you'll be good. So you can use data sources. Yeah. You have any other question?
So I think that's it. If you have any questions, we can give you another like 10 seconds.
Yes.
Someone is asking about the slides. Can you provide us with the slides after the event, after the session, in the tables maybe?
Cool. I'll do that in. Give me a few minutes. Let me just get the link to the slides. Then I can share quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, any other questions? So I think we're good.
I think I've sent the link to the slides.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, thank you for this informative session, Chris. You did amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.